times a negative 5. So positive times a negative has to be negative 15. And I just have one variable, d. I'm going to write negative 15d. Then I'm going to distribute to my next number for the product of 3d times 8d. So I know 3 times 8 is 24. They're both positive. So if the signs are the same, it has to be positive. So 24. And I look at my variables and I have two d's. So I'm going to say d squared. Now the second part of this is so important. Check for like terms, because if they're the same, then you have to keep simplifying. So my question is, do I combine negative 15 and 24? I have the same variable, but I don't have the same exponent. This one's squared and this one isn't. So I can't combine those. I have to stop right there. And you say your equation simplified.
So I got that right.
Over here, I have negative 7r times positive 4. So negative times a positive has to be a negative 28. And there's only one r here. This one doesn't have an r. So I'm just going to say negative. This is negative. Negative 28r. And then negative 7r times negative 6r. These are both negative, so this is positive. And I know 7 times 6 is 42. Then I check my variables. This has an r and this has an r. So I have to say r squared. So negative 28r plus 42r squared. I check to see if I have like terms. I have the same variable, but not the same exponent. So I'm all done there.
How would so I have a question. How would the 28r and then you put a positive sign in the middle instead of putting a negative sign?
Okay, so the 28r is negative. I tried to write a negative there. It's negative because you have a negative 7 times a positive 4. The 42 is positive because this 7 is negative and this 6 is negative. So negative times this negative equals a positive.
Okay.
Oh, that makes sense. That's why I made a mistake on.
Yeah, so if this rule helps right here, just think if the signs are the same, that means both negative or both positive, then it's positive. But if the signs are different, negative times a positive or positive times a negative, if they're different, then it's negative. That might help.
All right.
Okay. So I have negative 8j times 7. So negative times a positive, what's that going to be? Negative times a positive. Has to be negative, right?
It's going to be...
So 8 times 7 is 56, but it's negative 56. And I have a j here, but not here. So I'm just going to say 1j, just 1. Now I have a negative 8 times a negative 6. They're both negative. So if the signs are the same,
so it's negative.
It's positive 48. And I have a j here and over here. So I'm going to say j to the second power, or j squared. Then I check for like terms. I got j's, but one's squared and the other one isn't. So I can't combine negative 56 and 48. I have to leave it like that. Here's negative 3j times positive 9. So this is negative, this is positive, so my answer has to be negative. 3 times 9 is 27, so negative 27. This has a j, this doesn't. So I'm going to say negative 27j. And I have negative 3 times positive 9. So here the signs are different. Negative, positive, that means it has to be negative, again, 27. But the j is going to be different. There's one here and there's one here, so I have to say j squared. So when I look for like terms, I got j's, but one's squared and the other one isn't, so I have to stop there. Don't combine negative 27 and negative 27. You just have to leave it like that. Let's look at 2m times 4. These are both positive. Positive times a positive is positive 8. And there's an m here, but not there, so I'm just going to say 8m. Then I have 2m times negative 4m. Here's a positive times a negative, so my answer has to be minus 8. And I look at those variables, they're both m's. There's an m here, and there's an m here. So I have to say m squared. Then I ask myself, are these like terms? I got m's, but one is squared and the other one isn't. So I can't do 8 minus 8. I just have to leave it like that.
This is seeming easier to me now.
Did you have a question there?
No, I'm just saying it seems easier to me.
Oh, good. A little bit easier. Good. Sometimes you just do this for a while, it starts to make sense. So I have a positive times a negative. So the signs are different. If they're different, then it has to be negative. So I'm going to say negative 8 times 5 is 40. So negative 40. I have the c here, and then there's a c here. So I have to say c squared, or c to the second power. And then I distribute 8 times 9. So 8 times 9 is 72, but there's only one c. It's positive 72 because the signs are the same. This is positive, and this is positive. All right, plus 72c, because the 9 doesn't have a c. So you're looking at like terms. I have c squared, and then over here I just have c. So we stop right there. Okay? All right, let's pull up another document that looks just like this. It has some different questions. I have a 2w times a negative 6w. Can all of you see this this new document I just pulled up? Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to double check. All right. So I have positive times the negative. So I know if the signs are different, it has to equal negative. I'm going to make my marker a little dark. That's a little bit better. All right. So negative 12. And I have a w here and a w here. So I'm going to say w squared. Then I distribute to my next number, positive 2 times negative 1. Now the signs are different. It has to be negative 2. To check my variables, I have a w here, but not here. So I'm going to say negative 2w. And now I look for like terms. I have the same variables. They both are w, but one is squared, the other one isn't. So that's where I have to stop. Let's look at 7x times negative 3x. Now my signs are different. Positive times a negative equals a negative 21. Look at those variables. I have an x here and there's an x here. So I have to say x squared. Then I have a 7x times negative 5. A positive times a negative has to equal a negative 35. And the 5 doesn't have an x, only the 7 does. So I'm just going to put x, just one x. Look for like terms, same variables. One's got the exponent and the other one doesn't. So I'm just going to stop there. Okay, negative 6 times positive 8. No variables, just a negative times a positive equals negative 48. Then I have a negative 6 times a negative 2r. Here the signs are the same. Negative and negative equals a positive. So I'm going to put a plus sign. I know 6 times 2 is 12. And there's a variable there, that r. So I have to put an r over here. Notice the 48 doesn't have an r, just the 12. So they're not like terms. I can't add those two numbers. I just have to leave it like that. Always look in your directions. If it says simplify each expression, that means that you're going to have some that don't have like terms, where you just have to leave them as an equation. So I have a negative 3 times a negative 9. They're both negative. So that means it's positive 27. I have a negative 3 times a positive 8r. So now the signs are different. This one's negative. This one's positive. So I have to write a negative sign. Negative 24. And there's only one variable, this r right here. So I'm going to write r. So I don't have like terms. This number has no variable, and this one has an r. So I have to stop there. Don't do 27 minus 24. Just leave the equation like that. Here we've got 2 times 6v. This is positive and this is positive, so I'm going to write 12. And there's only one variable, this v right there, so 12v. Then I have 2, a positive times a negative. So that's going to equal negative, and I know 2 times 1 is 2. I'm going to write it like that, 12v minus 2. I look for like terms, one has a variable and the other one doesn't, so I can't subtract that. I just leave it like that. Okay? Here I've got positive 2b times 9b. They're both positive, so my answer has to be positive 18. And they both have the same variable, so I have to write b to the second power, b squared. Then I distribute to my next product. 2b times negative 6, positive times a negative. The signs are different, so the answer has to be negative 12. And I only have one b. There's a b here, but not over here, so I'm just going to write negative 12b. Then you check for like terms. I've got the same variable, but not the same exponent. So don't subtract 12 from 18. Just leave it like this. Okay, kind of like our last sheet, I'm going to have you look at these next 6 questions. And I'm just going to give you a minute to look at those. I'm going to stay live with you. And then we're going to come back and talk about the answers, okay? During this time, you can ask me any questions.
Okay.
Oh. Where did my pencil go?
I don't see the questions. Like I'm trying to like something.
That sounds like Ronnie. Are you having trouble seeing the question, Ronnie?
Glitching thing. Let me see the questions on the thing.
Are you able to see 7n and negative 8n? If you're on your phone, your screen might be really small. I would recommend doing this with like your Chromebook.
Yeah, it's not letting me see the questions. Like it's just saying presentation. No, it just says presentation.
What does it say, Ronnie?
Keith Ramsey.
Are you on a Chromebook? Zaki, are you able to see the question?
Yeah, I'm on a Chromebook.
Are you able to see the questions?
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right. Ronnie, you might try logging into the meeting again and just clicking on the link from your Chromebook. That might help. You might try
presentation
and then coming back in.
Keith Ramsey.
That might help.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
is that my name
Mr.
is
Ramsey.
Nova and not my name, and I apologize.
Uh-huh.
If it has like for the second question, if it has a 6 at the end, do you just multiply that way again?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. It doesn't matter if the number outside parentheses is at the end or at the beginning. You're still going to distribute one number at a time. It doesn't matter. So for that one, you could do 6 times 3. And then you could do 6 times 3 and they're both positive and just write 18 and.
Oh, yeah, I can see the question.
It doesn't matter if the number is at the front or at the back. Like, do you see how this negative 4 over here has its own parentheses around it? You're still going to distribute that.
Yes, sir.
One number at a time.
Oh.
Okay. So it doesn't matter if it's at the front or the back. They're just doing that to try to fool you.
That almost did happen.
Now
I need a haircut.
Okay, hopefully you had a little bit of time to look at those 6 questions and you've got a pencil and some paper. On this question here, this is a positive 7 and this is a negative 8.
let me see the questions.
I have a negative times a positive. That's going to equal a negative 56. This one has an n, and so does this. So I have to write n to the second power. Here I've got a 7n times 2. So I have a positive times a positive is equal to positive 14. I have an n here, but not for the 2, so I just write 14n. I check for like terms. This one's squared, this one isn't, so I can't combine negative 56 and 14. Looks like we did this one together. Let's look at negative 6d times 4. If this is negative and this is positive, the signs are different, so I have to write negative 24. And I have a d here, but not here, so negative 24d. Then I distribute the next number. I have a negative 6 times positive 5. The signs are different, so I have to write minus. And the variables are the same. I have a d here and a d here, so I have to write d to the second power. I check for like terms. I have the same variables, but not the same exponent. So I would say this equation is simplified. That's as much as we can do. Here we've got a negative 4p times negative 3p. This is a negative times a negative. The signs are the same, so I'm going to write positive 12, and I have a p and a p, so I'm going to write p to the second power. Then I have negative 4 times negative 4. Again, the signs are the same, so I have to say plus 16, and I have a p here, but not here. So I'm going to say plus 16p. Then I check to see if I have like terms. I have the same variables, but not the same exponents. One's squared and the other one isn't. So that's where we'd stop there. Here I have a negative 9k times negative 7k. They're both negative, so my answer has to be positive 63. I have a k here and here, so I'm going to write k squared. Then I have negative 9k times positive 7. This one's negative, this one's positive, so my answer has to be negative 63. And I look at the variable, I have a k here, but not over here, so this is just negative 63k. Check for like terms. I have the same variable. They both have a k, but one has this exponent 2, and this one doesn't. So I can't combine these. I just stop there. This one was the one that looked kind of backward because this 4 is over here, but you still distribute the same way. It'd just be negative 4 times negative 4f. They're both negative, so I'm going to write positive 16. There's one f here, so I'm going to write positive 16f. And I have this negative 4 times another negative 4. That's plus 16. That one doesn't have an f over here. So this is simplified because one has an f and the other one doesn't. That's as far as you can take it. Let's scroll down a little bit. I think there's a couple more here. Okay, again, I'm just going to have you take a minute, look at those next 6 questions, and then I'll come back to you and help work it with you. I'm just checking for people who are here. I see Zakia, I see Ronnie, I see Ava, Elijah. I see somebody down here. I can't see all of your faces. I wish I could, but I'm glad that you're here with us. Let me see if I can see. I see Angeline here. Now I see Hadi. I see Kyla.
I look messed up, son. I need a haircut.
That's awesome. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so take a few minutes and look at those next 6 questions, and then we'll do them together.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If it's a T, does that mean it's a 1? Okay.
No, sir. Yes, sir. I don't see the questions anymore.
Are you on the phone, Carissa?
Yes, I am, unfortunately.
Okay.
Do you want to know what the first question is?
I'm on present, so you should be able to see it.
I can see it.
I don't. It just randomly went to your screen for a second. Like, well, actually, not your screen. It just has your icon.
It might be your connectivity. You might like sign out and then sign back in.
Phone. Maybe it'll pop up.
Yeah, I'm still in presentation.
If not,
It should work.
Oh, come on.
if not, could somebody like give me the second equation? I've already done one.
The second
The first
question
one. Yes.
is -5 parenthesis -9 minus 9w parenthesis.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give me the next one now? After that.
-2c 7c plus 9.
Okay, so parentheses and then what?
Parentheses is 7c plus 9 and then another parenthesis.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This may be a repetitive thing.
Maybe if I switch back and forth, it'll help. I'm going to stop presenting and then go back to present mode, and maybe that'll, I don't know, maybe that'll refresh it. So let me go back to present mode and see if it magically pops up or something. I have no idea. Present now, full screen.
Fortunate.
Okay, now can you see it?
Yes, I can.
It worked? Okay, maybe it just
No, I
needed to refresh.
Thank you.
All right, let's take a look at these. So
No,
I
I-
have positive 2t times negative
That's
t.
messed up.
Remember, if there's nothing in front of the variable, there's always a 1 there. This is like saying positive 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And there's a t on both sides. So I'm going to say t to the second power. Then I have 2t times negative 8. So positive times a negative. I have to write negative 16. And I've got a t here, but not here. So I'm just going to write 16t. Then I check for like terms. I've got the same variables, but not the same exponents. I'm going to stop right there. And then over here, I've got a -5 times a -9. Here, the signs are the same. So I have to say it's positive 45. And then I've got a -5 times a -9w. Again, I have a negative times a negative, so I have to say plus 45 again. And now I've got this variable w. I have to put a w over here. These aren't the same terms because this one doesn't have a w and this one does. So I can't simplify it any more than that. Let's look at this -2c times 7c. I have a negative times a positive. So I have to write a -14. And I have to look at the variables. I have a c here, and there's another one here. So I have to say c squared. Then I have a -2 times positive 9. A negative times a positive is -18. This 9 doesn't have a c, only the 2 does. There's just one c here. These aren't like terms because this c is squared and this one isn't, so it's simplified. Can't do anything else to it. Here I have a 2k times a -2. So positive times a negative, that's going to be a negative. And there's only one k. I'm just going to write -4k. I have a 2k, which is positive, times positive 8k. They're both positive. So I'm going to write plus 16. And I've got a k here and here. So I have to say k to the second power because there's 2 of them. This one is not squared and this one is, so they're not like terms. I can't combine those. I stop there. Okay, so I have positive 2 times -9. The signs are different, so I have to write a negative sign in front of 18. And then I have positive 2 times positive 7g. So positive times a positive is going to be positive 14. This one doesn't have a g, but this one does. So 14g. And I check for like terms. One has a variable, the g, and the other one doesn't. So I can't combine these. You would say it's simplified at this point. Okay, and here the number that we're distributing is on the outside. That's okay. It's on the other side. That's all right. Negative times a positive is going to be a negative. Negative 14. And there's only one h there, so negative 14h. Negative 7 times positive 7. Here the signs are different, so I have to write negative 49. And I check for like terms. This one has an h, and this one doesn't have an h, so I can't combine negative 14 and negative 49. I just leave it like that. Okay, a few more here. Again, the number is at the end of the parentheses instead of at the front. It doesn't matter. You still distribute the same way. 5 times negative 3. Positive times a negative is negative 15. Positive times a negative. 5 times 5 is 25. This means negative 25. And I look at that variable x. There's one x here, but not over here. So it's just minus 25x. No like terms. This one doesn't have a variable and this one does. So I can't combine negative 15 and negative 25. Just leave it like that. And over here I have a 4h. This is positive times a negative. My answer has to be negative since the signs are different. So I'm going to write negative 28. I have an h here, but not here. So I just write negative 28h. And I have 4h times 3h. They're both positive. So I'm going to write positive 12. I'm going to go back and look at those variables. There's an h there. There's an h over here. There's two of them. So I have to say 8 squared, or h to the second power. One number is squared as a squared h, and the other one just has an h. So don't combine these two, okay? All right, last example that I want to look with you. Again, notice in the directions it says simplify each expression. It does not say solve. And it's the distributive formula. Then you'll have like terms. So you'll distribute like you normally would, but everything matches, and so you can add or subtract until you get to one number. And that's where it'll say solve. But if you see directions and it says simplify, that means you're not going to have like terms, okay? Or if you do have like terms, there's going to be something that doesn't match. All right. Can everyone see number 1 that says negative 6 times parentheses a plus 8? Can everyone see that?
Yeah. Yes.
Give me a thumbs up.
At least.
Everyone's seeing it okay? Because I can always go back and refresh the presentation screen. But if you can see it, then let's go. All right, so negative 6 times 8a. So remember, if it's just a letter there, it's like there's a 1 in front of it. This would be like saying negative 6 times positive 1a. So that's going to be negative 6a. Well, let me make my marker a little bit heavier. Okay. Negative, that's better. Negative 6a. And then I'm going to do negative 6 times positive 8. So negative times a positive is going to be negative 48. And again, I have an a over here, but not over here. So no like terms. You'd say that expression simplified. Here we've got 4 times 1. They're both positive, so I'm just going to write 4. Then I have 4 times positive 9x. So positive times a positive, it's going to be positive 36. And there's just this 1x here, 36x. This is simplified because 4 doesn't have an x. It's not a like term to 36x. Here we have 6 times negative 5n. So a positive times a negative is going to be negative 30. There's only one variable, that n there. So I'm going to say negative 30n. Then I have 6 times 7. They're both positive, so I know 6 times 7 is 42. I don't see a variable over here or here, so it's just 42. I look for like terms. This one has an n, and this one doesn't. So I can't combine those numbers. Just going to leave it like that. Okay, here I have the number with this dot. Remember, if you see a dot in an equation, that means to multiply. So this is the same as saying 2 times 10 and 2 times 9m. It's the same thing. So 2 times 10 is 20. 2 times 9m is 18m. This is a positive 2. So positive 18m. This doesn't have an m, this does, so they're not like terms, and I would say the equation is simplified. Let's scroll down a little bit. And let's look at these next 4 questions on your own. Take a few minutes. Feel free to ask any questions during this time. Remember these little dots right here, that means to multiply, okay? It's just another way of writing it.
So, okay, I can slow it up a little bit. Do that. Go.
No.
Hey, Mr. Ramsey.
Yeah.
On problem number 5, it has
Okay.
it says -8, but then it has like a little dot right there.
Yeah, that just means to multiply. That's like saying -8 times -3n. So the dot just means the same thing. So negative times a negative is positive, and then you have that n there. And then you just take -8 times -4. They're both negative, so that means it's positive 32.
Okay.
That's it. So if this next question down here where it has the dot by the 5, that just means to multiply.
Stop. Boo, stop.
Listen to like me and Sanusu. That's you show me your teeth.
Okay, then.
Okay, let's take a look at number 6 here. So this means 8 times -1b. So remember, if there's no number in front of a variable, there's always the magic 1 there. So I know 8 times -1 is -8, and there's a b. So -8b. Then I have positive 8 times -4. So positive times a negative is -32. This has the variable b, but this doesn't. So they're not like terms. It's simplified. Over here, this dot 5, it still means to multiply. 5 times -7n. Positive times a negative is -35. And there's this n here. So I have to write an n here. Positive 5 times positive 1 is positive 5. This 1 here is positive because there's no negative sign in front of it. So then I would look to see if I have like terms. This has an n, this doesn't. So I can't combine -35 and +5. I just leave it like that. Here I have an x with nothing in front of it. That's like saying 1x plus 4. So this means -6 times positive 1x. So negative times positive is -6x. And I have -6 times +4. Here again, a negative times a positive is -24. I check for like terms. This has an x, this doesn't. So it's simplified. Okay, let's look at a few more. Okay, for number 9, I have 5 on the outside, so positive 5 times 3m. They're both positives. Is positive 15, and there's 1 m there, 15m. 5 times -6. Now I've got a positive times a negative. The signs are different, so I write a negative sign, -30. I check for like terms. There's an M here, but not over here, so it's simplified. Let's look at number 10. Here's that dot again, Ronnie. So that means to multiply. The -4 times 7, negative times a positive, has to equal -28. -4 times -6p, they're both negative. So that means it's positive 24, and there's only this one p over here, so 24p. These aren't like terms because this has a variable and the -28 doesn't have a p, so that's simplified. Okay, for number 11, here's the variable with no number in front of it. That's like saying 5 times 1b. It's just 5b. And then 5 times -1, positive times a negative has to be -5. They're not like terms because this has a variable and this doesn't, so it's simplified. Here we've got that dot again. This just means 5 times 9 is 45. And 5 times x is like saying 5 times 1x is just 5x. I'm going to say plus 5x. They're not like terms because I have a variable here but not here. So don't try to combine those. It doesn't mean it's 50x. You just leave it like that. Okay. Let's scroll down a little bit. Okay.
Mr. Wynn.
Yep, question? I'm sorry, did somebody have a question?
It's not on the subject.
Okay. Okay. All right, so I have -4 times -8x. So they're both negative. So that means it's positive 32. And there's just this one x here. So positive 32x. Then I have -4 times -8. They're both negative again. So but there's no x this time. I just say plus 32. I don't have like terms because one has a variable and the other one doesn't, so it's simplified. Here's a -6 times a positive 7. The signs are different, so I have to say -42. I have -6 times x. That's like saying -6 times 1x. It's -6x. These are different because one has this x and this doesn't have an x, so don't try to combine them. That's simplified. Number 15, I have -3 times x. That's like saying -3 times 1x is -3x, because that x is positive. -3 times -5, they're both negative. So that means it's going to be positive 15. It has an x and this doesn't, so don't combine them. They're not like terms. Number 16, I have -5 times 10x. A negative times a positive is going to be -50x, because there's just that one x there. And I have -5 times positive 1. Negative times positive is going to be -5. I look at like terms. I have an x here, but not over here, so it's simplified. That's as much as I can do on that. Okay, and a couple more questions here. Let's take about 2 or 3 minutes. It's almost 3 o'clock. I want to run these lessons just from 2 to 3. I don't want to overwhelm you. Take another 2 minutes, look at these questions, and we'll go over it and call it quits, okay? Just a couple more minutes.
Hey, Mr. Wynn.
Yeah, Zakia. Do you have a question, Zakia?
Will we be able to chat after this?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just have to stop recording. I'll just stop recording, and then we can talk. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the recording purpose is for a YouTube channel. So I started a RamZland math YouTube channel, and I'll give you the link to that. And I'll just have all math lessons that we do virtually on Google Hangouts. So like if you miss one, or if you want to go back and review something, it'll just be on the YouTube channel. You can just click and watch yourself do it again, you know. So this lesson will be uploaded in the next, hour, and then you can go back and look at it. Or if someone missed it, they can go back and check.
Today I tried to get on the video of you multiplying polynomials, but I was
Yeah.
hard. But
Yeah, that's the
It
YouTube
says
channel
that-
that this one.
it says it's restricted, so we couldn't watch it. So my mom had me watch another one. Like her laptop.
It blocked it. It blocked polynomials.
Yeah,
It
when you
blocked
tapped
it.
on it, it said block.
Well, hopefully, hopefully they won't block the distributive formula. I hope YouTube doesn't find that to be too frightening, but I guess we'll find out. Funny what YouTube blocks. Okay, so for number 17, I have this dot here. That just means 5 times 2v. So a positive times a positive means 10v. And I have 5 times 1. 5 times 1 is just 5. So 10v plus 5. This has a v and this doesn't. So it's simplified. I just stop there. 10v plus 5. Over here, I have a negative times a positive. So negative 8 times 1 is going to be negative 8. And I have negative times the negatives. These are the signs are the same. So it's going to be positive 40. I have an x here, but not here. So it's just positive 40x. And I check the like terms. This has no x, and this one does. So I can't combine negative 8 and 40. It's just simplified. Here I have a negative 7 times positive 5k. So negative times a positive is going to equal negative 35. There's a k here, but not over here. So it's just negative 35k. Then I have negative 7 times negative 4. Same signs. They're both negative. So I'm going to write plus 28. And there's no k there. So I have a k here and not here, so don't combine them. You'd say I don't have like terms. It's simplified. Last one, I have negative 5 times positive 7. So negative times a positive, the signs are different, is a negative 35. And there's just one a there. So I'm going to write negative 35a. Then I have negative 5 times negative 6. Notice the signs are the same. Negative times a negative is a positive. I know 5 times 6 is 30. And there's no variable here. It's just 30. This one has an a, this one doesn't. So don't combine them. You'd say don't have like terms. The equation is simplified. Okay? So I think that's where I would like to stop our recording for today's meeting. And hopefully when we post this, it won't be blocked. And you'll be able to see what you did today, and that way, if you forget how to do something, you can always go back and double check. Okay. So, any questions that you guys have? How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Good.
I forgot